Hey guys, what's up? It's GVKCollectibles, and today, in honor of the release of Godzilla Vs Kong, which I have seen, and for those of you who know, was freaking awesome. I loved every moment of it. But anyway, in celebration of Godzilla Vs Kong's release, the latest entry in the MonsterVerse, let's take it back to the very first entry of the MonsterVerse. But not just any. We're not going to be just talking about any figure. We're going to be talking about the 12-inch, 24-inch long NECA Godzilla 2014. So what's up? So as I said, today we'll be taking a look at, it's going to be a little bit of a flashback review for at least this. It's going to be a little bit of a shorter review just because it is, this figure is relatively big. This, I think, is the biggest figure I've ever reviewed on Figure Review Friday. But anyway, as I said, this is actually in honor of Godzilla Vs Kong, which, as I said, I absolutely loved it. I think it was everything that I wanted the film to be, and yeah, it was everything I wanted it to be. Kong was awesome, the fights were awesome. People said that they didn't care really too much about the human story, but I loved the human characters in it. It really felt, at least to me, it felt like a good throwback to the Shoei films, like in terms of how their characters were set up. But anyway, let's get on to this guy. So this guy was released way back in 2014. This is actually one of the second, like, big Godzilla figures I've ever had. Actually, I think the third, because I've actually have two others. I have the Kiryu, the Bandai's Kiryu, and the Godzilla Final Wars Godzilla. So they are relatively big figures. They're 12-inch scale, same as this guy, but this guy is 12-inch, 24 inches long, which is really, really cool. And yeah, I got this guy. So when I got this guy, I think on my 18th birthday, I believe, which was, God, way back in, as I said, way back in 2014. But yeah, and this was a little after, I got this a little after the movie came out. So, but it was really, like, when NECA announced this figure, I knew I had to get it, because I loved, as soon as I saw the design for Godzilla 2014, I loved the design. I still really love the 2014 design, but I do love the changes that they have made with the subsequent entries, including the King of the Monsters, and I guess I would say Godzilla vs. Kong, even though I didn't really see a whole lot of design change with the 2014 Godzilla. I will be flashing some of the box art, because I don't have it's been so long, I don't have the box anymore for this guy, and it would also be really, really big, but like, it was one of the cool boxes too. One of the first, like, kind of open packaging boxes, different from the clamshell package boxes, which is really, really cool. So anyway, I want to say, let's get into some of the details on this guy. If you can definitely tell with the detailing, I'll get some closer shots of this guy, but like, the scale of this figure is absolutely massive. And what I'm aware of, this is actually when they were modeling this figure, they used the CGI model for the 2014 Godzilla, so this is directly like a accurate looking Godzilla 2014. There is a few inconsistencies, mainly with the eyes. He has the kind of reptilian-esque eyes, like slant black eye right here, when he has a much more human eye if you've seen Godzilla 2014, which I think is okay. But man, as I said, this guy is massive. It is one of my favorite figures I think NECA has ever produced for the Godzilla line in general, which I really, really love. The head sculpt looks really, really great. Well, before I talk more about the figure, I'm going to get some close-ups of the figure real quick. So we're going to get a closer look at the figure, like up the head sculpt and everything, and we'll go down from the figure as we go to see all the details of him. And as I said, here's a little bit of a close-up on the head of the 2014 Godzilla, and as you could tell, like, whoever did the sculpting on this figure really did an amazing job. Like, while it is based off the 2014, the CGI model, they did a really, really fantastic job of, like, nailing the look and the scaling of it. Now, this isn't completely, I think, accurate to how he looks in the 2014 film, like, in terms of, like, general sculpting and everything, it looks pretty accurate, but like in terms of like some things here and there, like mainly the eyes, which you can definitely tell are the much more reptilian looking eyes, than the more traditional kind of human looking eyes that he's always kind of had in each carnation of the character. I would say especially the MonsterVerse version of this character. But man, I gotta say, like, there's a lot of great detailing on this figure. Like, it is such, like when you feel the figure, this guy's a little hard to come by. He's a little bit more expensive. For the longest time, my local comic book shop had one of the reissues, I think, for a long time, but I think it was when Godzilla vs. Kong got it, right when that first trailer dropped, he was gone, which was, like, not sad for me, but it was like, it's always sad to see like a figure you've seen in a comic book shop for the longest time, and you don't, like, and then it goes, it's like you kind of feel an empty void. I don't know, maybe that's just me, but anyway, like, the detailing is absolutely amazing, and you also get like really cool kind of hints of this kind of green-esque paint on it, which they eventually, with the re-release of the 2014 the 6-inch scale figure, they actually included this kind of green right here, and I really like it. It is a cool kind of unique blend, even though it isn't completely accurate to how, even now, how Godzilla is within the MonsterVerse films. While he does kind of, like, I would say the King of the Monsters NECA figure is a little bit more accurate in terms of the color scheme for the movie MonsterVerse, the MonsterVerse Godzilla, which is, like, fine. But yeah, not a lot of too many details on the dorsal fins, which is a bit of a, like, that kind of sucks, but like, at the same time, there are bendable plastics, so you won't get really, like, if you want your kid to play with this, they're a little, like, not like a little sharp, but you're not gonna, like, it isn't like a Kenner figure back in the day where those were ridiculously sharp. But yeah, like, look, just, I'm going to lift the figure too. You get a lot of cool detail, like the chest looks really amazing. I have actually seen people do customs of this where they make it a little bit more accurate to how he looks in the film, and they do a really great job. Like, the tail is absolutely phenomenal. It's like super long, which is really great. But yeah, then you get the Godzilla patas. The feet are really cool. Like, I remember people complaining about the feet in 2014, but like, I didn't really care, and I think you kind of shut up about the feet complaints as soon as you see his feet drop in the airport scene, which I really like. This guy is, like, not to, like, complain or anything, he is a massive figure. Like, he's really great, but I'm really happy to have him in my collection, and got him when I did, which is really cool. And then we got the back, the dorsal fins and everything, which look really good. Mine's a little dusty, just because it's been in my collection for so long, and I don't really go in, but, like, yeah. Like, look at that. It's really amazing. As I said, this is definitely one of my favorite Godzilla NECA figures, Godzilla figures that NECA has ever produced. In terms of these big scales, I wish we got more of these. I wish we got a Burning Godzilla. I wish we got a lot more of these big scale figures, because I think it was kind of a missed opportunity. But I guess they just didn't sell too well. I mean, they barely, NECA does quarter scale figures still, but they don't nearly do them as much. Maybe just because it's like, they are in a niche market, depending on whoever has that marketing. Not marketing, God, what am I talking about? Depending on whoever buys them, because usually those, I only have one quarter scale figure, and it's a big Master Chief from Halo 4, and even that guy was really expensive. He was $109 at the time, so, like, and just, the thing is, with those quarter scales, they just skyrocket, especially, like, a lot of the early, quarter scale Predator stuff. It just skyrockets. But they are really cool figures, because they're essentially just really big upscale versions of their 7-inch figures, which is really cool. So with kind of the details out of the way, which I think the details on this figure are really cool, and it was actually the first, call me ignorant, but it was actually when when 2014 was coming out, I actually learned that Godzilla's, for the longest time, what I thought was Godzilla's scales, were his scales. They're actually not scales, they're actually modeled off Caligula scars from the survivors of who of the Nagasaki and Hiroshima atomic bomb drops that they. This is like kind of it's modeled after there, and even the original is done like that too, which is like I didn't know for the longest time, but it was like a really really cool fact that I really loved. But yeah, I love everything about this figure. It's kind of hard to say any of the cons that I hate about this figure. But before we jump into articulation, he does have a really really cool feature. Let me pull him up. He does come with the sound effect. So this is actually one of the few NECA figures I think actually has sound effects for it. And I think this is really the only one. Well, no, they actually did them, I think, with their Pacific Rim figures. They have light up LEDs and everything. So there's this little thing right here. Let's hope it works for me, because it kind of works in and off and on. It worked in the intro, so let's see. Yeah! I absolutely love the the Legendary versus Roar. It's very cool, very unique, and they continuously use it. They used it in Godzilla vs Kong, especially the loud one when he's like, for those who've watched the 2014 film, when he yells at the female Muto, like in the final battle. They use that exact same roar in Godzilla vs Kong, which I freaking loved, and I had fun. Like, as I said, Godzilla vs Kong was super fun. If you have HBO Max, go see it. If you're fully vaccinated and you can go to a theater and theaters are open, go see it in theaters, because it's really, really good. If you're vaccinated, I say. Like, if you're not vaccinated, don't risk it. Just saying. That's my stance. But anyway, without me gabbing on about the details and everything, let's get into articulation real quick, because he is really, really, he's got some really good articulation for this big figure. So Godzilla's the 12-inch, 24-inch long Godzilla. Well, I'm just gonna call him the 12-inch Godzilla because that's how long he scales at. He has some pretty good articulation for such a big figure. You would think if it was a bigger figure, the articulation wouldn't necessarily be as good as like their Ultimate figures or even their regular 7-inch figures, but it's really good, and it's actually, I feel like a lot of these there's a lot of designs for the articulation that be used later on for a lot of the other Godzilla figures. So let's jump into them. So Godzilla can look up pretty good for a Godzilla figure. I think he looks up pretty good, really well. He moves down. There's a neck joint actually connecting this, and for the longest time my neck joint was actually stuck, and it wasn't until recently I actually had to use a hairdryer, pop this out, and like move the joint so it was able to move back and forth. You can move the neck joint pretty much back and forth. It goes up and down, which is really, really good. There is a little bit of hindrance of the the back dorsal plate here, which is okay. His arms can rotate all around, which is really, really good. They're single jointed elbows, and they are kind of like on this ball joint, I believe. But even then, you're able to get like a little bit of wrist articulation on him, which is really, really good for this Godzilla figure. He does have a ab crunch, which he looks really, really cool in this ab crunch if you want him in like a kind of roaring pose. Also another, once again, he has an articulated jaw. Mine has the issue of where the kind of jaw is popping out here. I don't know how to exactly fix it, but it's not really a big issue for me, and it doesn't really break the immersion of the figure at all. He does have single jointed legs. His legs can move out, and you can actually like kind of sock them. Not sock them, but like they can rotate. They're not as like ingenious as the 6-inch figure. His toes, his feet move like that, and he's get a little bit of an ankle pivot, but it's not like too much. Once again, it's just also NECA figures are super brittle, and this is like one that I never really used a heat dryer on. Also, another thing with the dorsal fins, if you ever get this figure from a third party or whatever, dorsal fins will be a little bent. All you need to do is just really take a hot hair dryer to them and just blow them in blow them in whatever direction you want to stand. Hold them out like that, then they should become dry, which is really, really easy. So to the tail. Now, this is the part where I say this figure really influenced the later figures in the line, with the 6-inch line. For the longest time, the 6-inch figures had the bendy wire tail, and it wasn't until I think the 1962 Godzilla, the Godzilla vs King Kong vs Godzilla design, they actually used a fully articulated tail. and I think this is actually one of the first ones to have a fully articulated tail. So he has a joint right here. This is actually the kind of base of where the tail goes, and I actually don't know where the tail connects. I think it actually connects right here, and this is where also the reason this tail is so big is because this is where all the electronics for the sound effect are on the figure, which is pretty good. You can move his leg that much, so it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And people say this is a little bit of a bendy wire, but I kind of doubt that because it's not really too bendy at all, which is okay. It's fine. Like, I think that's okay. But yeah, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 points of articulation on the tail, which is ridiculous for a tail. And also, if the batteries do go dead on the tail part, you can actually change them out right here. And also, when you first get the figure, there's a little, like with all kind of like figures that come include with sound effects, with a few exceptions here and there, there's a little plastic pin that you have to, well, like a little flimsy little plastic pin. Not pin, but like just a little plastic thing. Pull it, then you'll be able to use the sound effects. So yeah, this figure has some really, really good and decent articulation, I think. It's probably one of, like, it's so cool to see, like, big figures like this have such really good articulation. We'll do kind of a small kind of size comparison, because he is just so massive, and I don't really have too many massive figures that could scale with this guy. So, let's jump into some fun little size comparisons for him. Here's one fun little, I'm just going to do one little fun comparison, just because this guy is a big fig, and he practically dwarfs all the 6-inch figures I have. Here he is compared to some other big Godzilla figures. So here we have the monster movie. It's basically the Bandai 10-inch or I think 11-inch, either 10-inch or 11-inch. I'm not completely sure. Godzilla from King of the Monsters. This is a really, really cool figure. Did a review on that. Here's the classic ones that I'm talking about. This is the Bandai Final Wars Godzilla that came out forever ago. I don't know when. Bandai actually continues to reissue this guy, and he actually shows up quite a bit in like Targets and stuff, which is really, really cool. And also the Kiru from Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, same line as these two. So yeah, he's a pretty big figure. He's actually relatively bigger than these two right here, even though these two are technically the same scale. Mainly just because they are bigger, just because these guys are in fixed poses comparative to this guy, who is just massive and he's articulated, so it is a little bit different for these two figures. And also, it is cool, like, let's move these guys out of the way real quick. But it is really cool because you get to see kind of the difference here and there with the 2014 design. Sorry, let me move it like that. There we go. You get to see the difference with the 2014 design and the 2019, which I think is really, really cool. I do wish NECA did do a, a 2019 version in this scale, but it's okay. I mean, I really love this figure so much, so yeah, it's a little fun little comparison right there. And overall thoughts on the 2014, 12-inch, 2014-inch Godzilla, it's great. It's been a fixture of my collection since 2014, so roughly, I think 5 years or 6 years at this point. Jesus, maybe even longer than that, I think. But yeah, it is probably one of my favorite NECA figures that NECA has done for the Godzilla line. It was really sad to see them go, not being able to continue doing figures in this scale, because I think they could have done some really, really good figures, like, especially if they did like Godzilla vs. Biolante's design, and even a continuation of the MonsterVerse design figures. But either way, if you can find this guy at a relatively good price, not too over expensive, this guy's actually selling for like $250, I think, on Amazon right now, which is a little bit ridiculous. But if you can find him at a good price, I would definitely suggest picking him up. He is a fun addition to anybody's collection if you love the MonsterVerse design, and if you love the 2014 version of this Godzilla, of the MonsterVerse Godzilla's design, I definitely suggest picking it up. So, with that out of the way, yeah, that's the video for today. It was a little bit of a fun, a little bit different. It's a bigger figure, so I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys like the video and hit subscribe, and where you can get notified where when we upload more videos, like Figure Review Friday, Mythical Mountain Monday, and What's in the Box Wednesday. I really enjoy doing these videos, and I think I have a fun time doing them. And also, check out Godzilla Vs Kong. It's fun. It's a fun movie, and I hope the MonsterVerse continues after this. Apparently there are there's rumors that we are getting that Kong show that'll be set in the past, where it's going to focus on the crew of the ship we see in Godzilla vs. In Kong Skull Island. So yeah, also check us out on Instagram. I'm GVKCollectibles, of course, and also check out my brother, Jack's Pop Guy. We post a lot of cool stuff. Maybe post a few cool pictures of this guy. And also I gave my thoughts on Godzilla vs. Kong on Instagram. Also check us out on Mercari. We have a lot of cool stuff on sale. And yeah, with that being said, I hope you guys have a great weekend. Hopefully it's safe. And if you do see Godzilla vs. Kong, be safe, please. With that being said, peace.